Hi, I'm Reid, here with Live Sail Die, and I'm with Jon Henry, Master of the Universe and all things shorthanded sailing in New Zealand. How you going, Jon?
Oh, I'm going good.
Yeah?
Really good, yep.
I guess one of the things I want to ask is, how'd you get into sailing and how'd you get into the SSANZ stuff?
First thing, grew up on a farm in North Waikato. Everyone says farmers don't go sailing. Parents had racehorses. My grandfather was into boats. My ancestry goes right back to the first settlers the European settlers in the Pacific. So the Henry name's sort of fairly well known right back to, came out, William and Sarah Henry left the UK in 1796 on the Duff with the London Missionary Society. They built the first church in the South Pacific in Papatoai in Moorea. Their eldest son was Captain Samuel Pinder Henry, and he traded right through the Pacific. He had 3 sailing ships. So yeah, bit of salt water in the blood. Went and stayed with friends at Cook's Beach as a 8 or 9 or 7-year-old for the summer. There was another family staying on the lawn at the same batch. We had a caravan. They were staying in a tent. They had 2 boys had I'd like to say it was a flying ant. I can't actually remember. It was a long time ago. It was a two-man kids sailing dinghy. I know it had a main and a jib. And the oldest boy wanted to sail around Centre Island at Mercury Bay, and the youngest brother, as brothers are wont to do, said, "No, I don't want to go." So the older brother said, "Oh, well, I'll go and ask that other guy and see if he wants to go." So that was my introduction to sailing, and parents were watching on the beach, and we disappeared and got a smaller and smaller white dot until it disappeared round behind Centre Island and came back again. And yeah, after that I was pretty hooked. Sailed P-class, sailed with Waikiri Yacht Club, which is defunct now. It's Waikiri is the big lake at Tikawata. It's a huge lake. It's 7 feet deep. So don't capsize or else your mast sticks in the mud.
Sounds like the estuary in Christchurch.
And then I had a FAR 3.7. Then I got out of sailing for a little bit. I played polo in New Zealand and Australia. Trained racehorses. Trained a few steeplechasers. Won a few races with those. Then in the meanwhile, got married. Carol, my wife's family, have been into boating big time. Built a 51-foot motor sailor on the backyard in Pakuranga and launched it, and then had one of the first, I think the 4th Vindexes out of the mould. Yeah, so she was keen to so we got a trailer yacht, got a FAR 6000, had that for 14 years or something.
Yeah, you got the kids into it.
Yeah, and cruised and raced that. Won a few 100-mile races out of Kawakawa Bay and what have you, and sort of got the bug into racing again. So then we sold that and bought a Carpenter 29, mostly cruised, and did a bit of racing out of Pine Harbour with that. We must have had that boat for about 5 years, and then sold that. Carol wanted a bigger boat. I said, well, you go and find a boat, and so she found Danity, which is a Beale 38, which we had for 10 years. Did lots of cruising, did 2 round North Islands and a round New Zealand race.
So that's how you got into the shorthanded scene?
Yep. It was, meanwhile, I'd done a couple of offshores with a mate in an 1104. We did the 2005 Auckland Server race with Hakarana. Then the two-headed sailing seemed to be the thing to do. It looked really cool because you didn't have to organise a whole crew, and it was you and your mate.
So when was the first R&I that you did?
We did, the first one was 2008.
Right, and so you ended up being race officer for the first time in 2014, right?
14, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, we did we won...
What was the fleet in 2008?
24 boats from memory.
Yeah, okay.
We won on ORC, which was the major rating overall. So that was, what I tell everyone, you need to do 2 round North Islands because the first one you'll learn everything.
Yeah.
We thought we knew everything. Went back to do the 2011 round North Island, and which was the year when only half the fleet got round. Well, we were one of the ones that we got down the west coast and had a bearing fall out of the rudder system, and
that's quite important. Yeah.
In hindsight, it was we could have actually fixed it with a bit of number 8 wire and baling twine, but you don't know that at the time. So we turned around and headed back. So we didn't complete 2011.
Yeah.
2012 was around New Zealand.
Yeah.
So that was our sort of, we decided that we were going to finish that race if we finished a month late. You know,
Fair enough.
it was a goal to get round and finish the race. So what we did is we actually got hit by a weather bomb in the Tasman that year, with the Pelagian story you probably remember.
I guess my advice to anybody doing this race is you just have to prepare and prepare and prepare. We've prepared more duct tape and silicone than can be carried on a boat after our last race where we took on a little bit more water than we should have. We've got spare undies, we've got spare socks which Matt used to dam holes in the boat last time. But we're ready and we're excited, along with a lot of nervousness, but we're out to have a good time. And
we were in the same conditions. I'm sure Chris Skinner's told Live, Sail, Die about the 15-metre waves.
It was lit up, it was full moon, big swells.
Well, I can testify they were definitely 15-metre waves. So we ended up in Port Tarakoe in the top of the South Island with Capelia and Truxton and us.
The stalwarts of the sailing, of the shorthanded sailing scene, yeah.
And so we finished mid-fleet. I think we were 4th out of 8 boats that finished or something. And that wasn't wasn't a complete disaster, but it was a great experience. And after that, I felt that I had sort of, unless maybe like you did with your dad, unless if my daughter wanted to do around North Island, I thought I'd sort of been there and done that after doing it in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided. I'd been on the committee, SSANZ committee, since I think 2008. Yeah, it's sort of the allure of doing another one wasn't really there, but I wanted to be involved. So that's when I put my hand up to be race officer in 14, then race officer again in 2017, and then 20.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, last year we had, what, 38 boats?
38 boats, yep. So we had 40 entries, where it was limited, basically sold out within an hour. A lot of competitors think that as race officer you're trying to prevent them from doing things, like restrict them or things. As race officer, actually it makes no difference to me whether Anarchy finishes first or last, right? As long as it finishes. So my goal...
With 2 people on the boat. Yeah.
My goal for a successful round North Island, which happened in 2014, is to get every boat that crosses the start line across the finish line. Yeah. So, that doesn't mean that we won't, as I heard last night at a SSANZ meeting, our chairman said he was involved with SSANZ, and the person said to them, "You're those crazy people that sail in 0 to 50 knots, aren't you?" If it's sailable, we expect you to go sailing. It's the skipper's responsibility the whole way, but we like to, basically we won't send boats out into a named weather system.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if we start deciding that we won't race in less than 10 knots, well then the lightweight flyers get penalised. We decide we're not going to race in more than 25 knots, well the sensible, solid family cruiser doesn't have its day either.
No.
So it's got to be as long as it's not dangerous, and as long as the skippers realise that it's their responsibility, not ours, then we'll run races.
A special update from the moving violation. We got some dolphins beside us, 32 knots of breeze, 2 reefs in the main, and a number 2 up.
And I think that's a real attractor to people when they look at our series.
So you reckon that's part of why two-handed sailing or short-handed sailing is so popular in New Zealand?
A lot of it builds from our Lumar Triple Series, whereby the competitors know it's going to be the first weekend in July, August and September.
And we get some
every
massive
year.
fleets for that.
The last 3 years we've run the biggest keelboat race, 186 boats last year. Yeah, so the last 3 years we've topped the coastal, which is sort of our base mark to see how we're going. Yeah, we must be doing something right. We're getting the entries.
Oh, I also think with the fact that it's now an Olympic category, probably going to see even more growth.
Yes.
It's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah. So that possibly leads into our announcement.
We have some breaking news for you.
We have decided to run an event in addition to our normal events, whereby we're looking at a Northern Triangle It will be the last weekend in February 2022, so 12 months' time. It will be a lead-in to around North Island, so it'll run mostly the same requirements as around North Island, except it will be Cat 3 and not Cat 2. It will leave from Auckland on the Saturday morning, I think it's the 19th of February, to 140 miles to Monganui. From Monganui it will be a 24-hour stopover with a minimum of 12. The clock will start after 60%, same as exactly the same format as R&I. Leg 2 will be Monganui to Tauranga, 230 miles. So the whole triangle will be 500 miles up. And then we're looking at either a 36 or a 48-hour stopover in Tauranga. We want to try and run it so people have only got to take a week off work. It'll start one weekend and we want to get it to finish the following weekend, weather permitting of course. And then leg 3 will be Tauranga back to Auckland. We will limit the fleet to 40 boats. We may be able to go slightly over that, but at this stage we're limited at the club at Monganui to 100 people in the club. We have a sponsor for it. Evolution Sales have put their hands up again and they want to be involved. It was only decided last night that we would run this event. The idea is we run it as a low-key event. We've looked very hard at doing offshore races. We've looked quite hard with Yachting New Zealand at doing around the Kermadex race, Rowell Island to port or starboard. The idea being that it would be a week or 10-day race that you end up back where you start.
So we've got some cool SSANZ events coming up this year, and the year of hopefully less COVID. Tell us about those.
Okay, so our very next event is the Change Ropes and Anchors Enduro. The last couple of years we've finished at the bottom end of Waiheke.
And all that.
We've done a couple of years at Great Barrier, but we're just formulating that at the moment. But it'll be very similar format. We just like to mix up the location of the finish, and that's a great event because we have a nice beach party afterwards. The year leading into around North Island, we have a race that's long enough to qualify for the round North Island, and then we'll lead into the Safety at Sea Triple Series. Luma, big sponsor there, has been they're signed up for another year. So them, Doyle Sales and PIC. And last year, due to COVID, we made quite a few changes so that we needed less people on the start boat and what have you. Had lots of positive feedback about having all the boats that are racing on the long haul course starting together. Same with the short haul courses. So we have a whole range of courses and divisions for different sized boats. Last year, to minimise the number of people we needed and the risk to competitors and officials, we simplified it, which actually has turned out to be really, really positive. So we're looking at just running 3 starts for the 3 different courses, run at 15-minute intervals. A lot of the downsides from COVID have turned into a good opportunity to trial different things, some of which we will push forward.
So thanks, John, for sitting down with us this morning and telling us about, well, you and SSANZ and all these epic things that you do, and thanks for all of your efforts as a competitor, and thanks again to the SSANZ committee and all the sponsors that make this sort of racing happen, and all of the competitors as well. So looking forward to another year of shorthanded sailing, and maybe another lap of the island at some stage.
And if I can give one piece of advice to competitors, panic slowly. Things will always happen on boats, but our motto with race management is panic slowly.
I'm Reid with Live Sail Die. This is Jon Henry with SSANZ, and we'll see you next time.